Hey, everybody. I'm Largo, I think, and this is still the lair, although it looks like it's been invaded by the swarm. So, all hail the swarm. We shall be swarming today. Matter of fact, I got a picture of our favorite swarm right here. Let's talk swarm today. Of course, this is the swarm everybody came to see, right? And one of my favorite Spider-Man villains from the cartoon. Love the way he brought everybody into. Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong slideshow. That's the swarm we want. Sorry, Will. I don't know what I was thinking.
Swarm. Hey, all hail the swarm. How's it going?
It's getting there, man. How are you doing today?
Good. This is going to be an exciting one.
Oh yeah,
it's a very
the one
popular
that
character.
I was going to say the people demand the swarm. So let's do some swarm. So this is the 5th episode. We're cruising right along.
Oh yeah,
and there is a multitude of information about these guys, even though they're shrouded in mystery, and some of their stuff is redacted. But I think we put together enough here to pique everybody's interest. Let's see what we got going. The swarm. Yeah, the swarm. But the swarm are your friends, right? Depends on who you ask. So from what we know, the swarm is a paramilitary group comprised of former military personnel from both U.S. and foreign nations. You see a couple of variants here of winged and not winged, some with shields. And interesting note, I think Bobby had mentioned this in one of his many appearances, their shields are not energy-based. Their shields are made of some sort of a composite similar to the wings, and they're just bullet resistant. So not as high-tech as the future Praetorians coming, but still pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
So here we've got the basic write-up for the first figure in the line that we saw from the swarm. He was the 4th of the first series, 0104. Codename Swarm, infantry trooper. Obviously, their names are various. Their primary MOS is Special Forces, just like Steel Brigade. Secondary skills, counterintelligence and counterinsurgency. And of course, birthplace rank is various, but they are affiliated with the Swarm.
Yeah, and swarm troopers undergo surgery to install neural implants in their brain, allowing them to interface as a group, much like a hive of insects.
Yeah, we don't know much about the tech, but we know it does give them a distinct advantage tactically. So after the fall of the United States, each state government maintains order by declaring themselves an independent republic within their territories. And many of these republics were left with minimal or no military assets for defense, making them vulnerable to attack by rival republics. To counter this threat, Redacted introduced a solution called the Swarm.
Yeah. And as we mentioned earlier, they undergo that surgery to install the neural implants in their brain. But when they act like that hive, this allows each team member to receive real-time information and react faster as a team, rather than as an individual. Now, the cost for utilizing these highly trained mercenaries is high, and Redacted exacts a significant toll on its customers, and their control of their their control of their republics, making them a pawn in larger game. These territories that didn't fall under new colonial rule, and they're getting pressure from, and it mentions mercenary forces, vigilante groups, hometown militias, as they rise up. The Swarm offer their assistance, and that assistance, while it creates order and kind of stops the chaos, it exacts a pretty steep toll. I think we saw in some of the mission file issues where It was rumored that people who were captured or males were being taken away and either conscribed into the swarm themselves or being used for labor for some projects unknown. So, um,
Right. It was never specifically said, but people just started disappearing, going into pressed labor gangs and whatnot. So,
yeah. So the swarm trooper is the basic unit. It's the one you're going to see the most of. But
mhm.
they're not the only ones. And as we saw in the pictures there's different loadouts where we had some with the flight packs, some with the shields, and some are just armed with rifles and whatnot. But um, they have kind of a swarm for every situation, as we're
Indeed.
gonna see. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one is with the loadout that came with the weapons gear pack for the original Swarm. So he's got the flight pack, the cool translucent stand. That pack also came with some other weapons, but he's just using his Maxim
Yeah.
sidearm there.
And you got to
One thing that
imagine.
was,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh no,
what's
go
that?
ahead. Go ahead. No, I was going to say if you were one of these territories or these militia groups, or and you're used to fighting amongst not trained military forces, well, if you came up against them, you'd be pretty much outclassed. But imagine these things flying above, swooping in, giving directives, and uh, you know just annihilating these forces. So these militia groups don't stand a chance.
Right. But as we see in mission file number 1, they present themselves as a benevolent force. I mean,
Oh
they have a
yeah.
good PR campaign. They're like, hey, we're here to help. We're your buddy. And
Hmm.
they certainly are very helpful to groups or territories, republics when they come in. It's not until later when they start, making martial law type edicts and people start disappearing that they realize they've made a bad choice siding with the Swarm as their peacekeepers. So they appear to be good guys, at least at first. But Action Force knows better. And oh boy, there are variants. These guys are a very exclusive and elusive variant that we will see. The Wasp Raider was the 7th of the original series, so it's 0107. File name unknown, primary MOS Special Forces, like almost all Swarm. His secondary skills are covert ops and intelligence. Rank is unknown, but affiliation, of course, is the Swarm. And he has a very special coloring. The figure is a BotCon exclusive that came out when Action Force premiered Series 1. The figure is retired. You're only going to find him on the secondary market. That doesn't mean that the character is retired because he is in the lore. So we may see another variant of the Wasp Raider sometime in the future, but never again in these colors.
Yeah, and then it's stated if you're involved in a skirmish with the swarm unit and happen to see a flash of green and yellow, fear not, it'll be over soon.
Indeed. So we don't know a lot about these guys except what is on their combat profile. So we'll detail that here. When each battalion of swarm troopers is deployed, there is always one Wasp Raider to accompany them. Keeping a distance, Wasp Raiders monitor every mission as their elite soldiers move swiftly through their adversaries. If needed, Wasp Raiders can descend into battle in the blink of an eye. A nerve-wrenching buzz from their flight packs forecasting the impending danger before they strike.
Yeah. No living soul has survived a Wasp Raider attack, making their methods only a mix of fear-filled hearsay and hushed rumor. The speed of attack, as well as their banking agility during flight and their power dives during aerial assault, strafing runs, would put tremendous strain on their bodies, even beyond that of experienced combat aircraft pilots.
It is therefore suspected that Wasp Raiders have a far more technological advancement than that of standard swarm troopers, including leading-edge armor, reinforcing limb and body that would counter these intense, crushing G-forces. Their neural implants allow each wasp raider to send real-time updates back to redacted, acting as a living UAV and giving the wasp raider the alacritous ability to adapt battle plans to any scenario a swarm battalion may encounter. So, pretty interesting.
It really is. And, while we haven't seen them exactly in the mission files or, anything that we're covering up till now, if you have one, it's a great, this is great background information to stage them with your swarm troopers.
Yeah. And I just happen to have one handy. I was fortunate enough to pick one up. I didn't get the BotCon, but they were available to order from the BotCon. Beautiful figure, really cool.
Yeah.
I love the blue on his wings, and he definitely stands out on your shoulders. So one of these per battalion. So he is elusive. You probably won't see him, but if you do see him, it's already too late. You're in trouble. So that's pretty much how that goes.
Yeah.
And so with the Wasp Raider and some of the other variants, they did not show up in the mission files. There is a brief glimpse of one that we'll talk about here in a minute, the Scarab. He does show up. We get to watch Trigger mow some of them down. And the rest, we're going to hope to see either in the major motion picture that's coming, or maybe we'll see some encounters in Bill Nidra's novel. We'll have to wait and see.
Now we have the ground forces, the Scarabs. This was actually in series 2, right? This was the third figure released. But we
because there's only so many swarm. It's better if we just do all the swarm together in this one episode, and then we can.
These all fall under that swarm army. So their file name varies. Primary specialty is heavy weapons. Their secondary skills are explosives. Ranks are, of course, unknown, and their affiliation is the Swarm.
So, unlike the Swarm Troopers, Scarab Troopers are exclusive paramilitary ground force of the Swarm. They don't fly; they just stomp in and blow stuff up. So,
So while the Swarm Troopers deploy by air, the Scarab forces control the ground with a plethora of heavy weapons. Scarabs also operate on the same hive mind interface as all Swarm military personnel. The Scarabs are equipped with tungsten-coated armor, making them able to withstand a barrage of high-caliber rounds. The helmets are designed as compound eyes, so they can detect movement from all sides without facing their threat. So you can't sneak up on these guys, and if you were a militia group, your bullets would be bouncing right off of these guys. Now, we did see that Trigger was able to take some down, but he was using a BFG. I don't know exactly what that is.
Yeah, he was using a heavy machine gun.
Yeah, he was mowing them down, but it takes a lot. So, to a layman or just, a civilian, these things are like Terminators. They're coming through and bullets are bouncing off them. They got eyes in the back of their head, literally. So from the sky and on the ground, these forces would be overwhelming to the average person.
Absolutely, they'd be terrifying to even Republic Guard troops, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
So as redacted, tighten their hold on weaker republics. The Scarabs are used to elicit fear and control. Getting into a skirmish with the Scarabs is a losing battle. If you are lucky enough to see them coming, it's best to lay down your arms and get in line. However, the Scarabs rarely show up without a firefight. So, civilians beware. Better wait for Steel Brigade or Action Force to come in to rescue you. There's a picture of the typical Scarab in his initial setup. I tweaked mine a little bit. I gave him a backpack for some extra ammo. And I've got him with the grenade launcher.
Oh, nice!
Which really looks nice with the Scarabs. So
really.
I love these guys.
Yeah, they're blowing stuff up.
They like to go boom, and so having a squad of Scarabs in front of your basic swarm troops is pretty menacing looking on your shelf or on the battlefield.
Oh, and then finally we have the Swarm Sentry, and that was a special deployment series. That was the second figure. Now their file name is various primary MOS is Special Forces, but their secondary skill is Security. Rank, of course, unknown, and the affiliation to Swarm. Now these look great. Not only do they look great, but as we're about to see, they have some very interesting characteristics.
Yeah, it's a beautiful black and gold design, and they are a rarity within the Swarm forces, as we'll see. The Swarm Sentry tech is far superior to any other tech encountered on the battlefield. That's pretty interesting. So according to their mission files, it is unknown how many Swarm installations exist, and to date, not one of them have ever been infiltrated. What is known is that they are guarded by the most elite security force of all, the Swarm Sentry units. No military force has gone up against the Swarm Sentry and survived. Kind of sounds a little bit like the Wasp Raider. Redacted has gone to great lengths to keep Swarm installations and technology inside a secret from the rest of the world. So unless you're trying to infiltrate a Swarm facility, you're probably never going to see these guys. But if you do, you're going to have trouble getting past them. So they are the ultimate guards for the Swarm.
Yeah, and I think it's that rarity that is also, since no Swarm Sentry troopers have ever been captured or examined, it's unknown how much more advanced their armor and weaponry is from the rest of the Swarm units. Now, Action Force Intel reports that they believe the Swarm Sentry tech is far superior to any tech they have encountered on the battlefield. And once again, it's because of their rarity. And because of the way the Swarm operates, these guys aren't standing outside a building, and saying, this is the installation. They're probably all over the place. You just don't know where they are. And if you were unlucky enough to wander in, you would soon be ended and never tell the tale. So that mystique is a power in itself. It's a huge advantage.
Yeah. And again, one thing I really like about what Bobby's doing with the line, even when he's just doing variants and repaints, he gives them a place in the lore that makes them a unique character type or troop type. So we're seeing that, the Wasp Raider and the Swarm Sentry are both color variants of the trooper, but in the lore, they have very distinct.
It seems that their power levels probably parallel with probably the Wasp Raider having an advantage as it kind of oversees the Swarm Troopers and then also has that advanced flight technology. But these guys are pretty bad too. I wouldn't want to go up against them.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see once the Praetorians from the Crimson Shadow technologies are around, what their power levels are, and whether they're equal with these Swarm Sentries or if they're superior. It looks like they would be slightly more advanced, but they are completely robotic, whereas the Sentries are simply cyber.
And they may serve a different
human
purpose.
troops.
I don't know if that Praetorian is a hunter-killer or a guardian, of these installations or these things like that, So we'll have to wait and find out, what the Praetorian's role is in the greater Valaverse universe. But for right now, with the variants that we've seen in all the different types of Swarm, it is a full-fledged army. And, as far as, army-built villains go, or friends, I don't know, depends who you are, they are a great troop. I really like the design of them. I really like the lore, and I'm really looking forward to what comes next with them.
Yeah. So these are the Swarm that we know of so far. More variants may be to come. We don't know what Bobby's plans are. He might announce something else for the Swarm in the future. He did re-release the standard Swarm Troop in the Special Deployment Series along with the Swarm Sentry. So for those who missed the first time around, they are available again. And they're just cool. Great color schemes, great design, a good villain with a interesting lore behind them. A lot of it shrouded in mystery. So we're just going to have to wait and see what becomes of them in the future. So we got some questions.
Yeah. The Swarm, who do they work for? I suspect Crimson Shadows, but I might be speaking too soon. Maybe it's not.
Right.
That might be the obvious choice. We may be throwing a curveball.
Maybe the Red Shadow Technologies is a red herring. We don't know. We know that they did provide the armament and tech that Swarm use, but that doesn't mean that they're the big baddie behind the scenes. Could be somebody else who's pulling strings for both Crimson Shadow and the Swarm. We don't know.
Sure.
So, jury's still out on that one. What do they look like under those helmets?
Well, I've told you this before, Jim. I'm thinking RoboCop, the first RoboCop movie when Murphy takes off his helmet, or Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi. They're pasty. They've got wires going into their bald little heads, and they just look maybe creeped out or dazed. But it would be nice to see an unmasked Swarm variant come out, or in a head pack or something like that. I'd be
right.
For it.
Yeah, because at this point, all we know is they do have some sort of an augmentation, but we don't know what's under those helmets. Are they just normal troops with some sort of a chip implant that's just in the back of the head, or is it major modification? Are we talking Frankenstein here? We don't know. But more importantly, what do they want?
Yeah.
So what we see from the mission files and what we've read in Bill Nidro's novel that we can talk about, they are there to maintain order. They're at the behest of certain territories to basically keep New Colonia from encroaching on independent republics.
Yeah.
But
and it was
it's a gray area.
That the territories that were controlled by the Swarm, New Colonia just doesn't mess with. It doesn't say that they're necessarily, allied with them. It's just said that Swarm-controlled territories seem to be safe at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder. It's like whoever the hype man for the Swarm is, he's like, well, if you want to keep out of New Colonia, then you better hire the Swarm. Or is it the Swarm, that is the ones who are encroaching, and New Colonia is trying to keep other territories away from them? We don't really know the real story. Because if you ask a garrison cavalry trooper, he'll tell you one thing. You ask a Swarm trooper, he'll tell you another. And then if you ask, the man on the street, he's going to be like, hey, man, I'm just trying to live. I just don't want to get shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So.
And then, are they friend or foe? Well, I think it depends also, because if you're in an independent territory and, you're coming under the attack of looters and raiders or mercenary groups, or, kind of taking control of the area, and they come in and establish order, they're saviors. They came, they saved you. They're friends. But then, when you remember you ran out of something and you try to run out and one of them sticks a gun in your face and says it's curfew, get back in your house, then maybe they're foe,
You're probably not going to win that argument.
Yeah. So I guess it really depends where you're coming from with these guys. And, it just seems like they're, I don't know. It's like, imagine, Amazon, the way they've kind of taken over distribution, and putting these like little centers in every city, and you can order something and a van comes and drops it off.
That's an interesting parallel you're drawing there, Will.
Kind of. But, they've kind of done that same kind of model with, I guess, governing these small territories, and they're popping up all over. Very convenient at first, but at what cost?
Exactly. Kind of reminds me of, what was it, B&L by and large from the Wall-E movie.
Yep.
But we don't know a whole lot about these guys, but we have seen a couple of panels in the mission files where we see them in action. And
I really liked that issue because it was being told or narrated from a layman's perspective. He just said, the way they just shot in here and start taking these guys out, they were like superhumans,
Yeah, they're super efficient. They strike fast. They strike hard, and with uncanny precision. precision to the
Yeah.
point
One of
where
my
they know exactly
favorite-
where to hit somebody.
Yeah. They said without even, what does he say there? I thought I was hallucinating. It's like these guys moved like they weren't human. And then
Yep.
my favorite slide, I think it's the next
Yeah.
one, is where he's shooting in both directions at the same time. Eyes in the back of his head. They didn't even have to look because he's probably looking through some other swarm troopers, perception or getting targeting information. Or it's like
Right.
that
The way
great
their hive
scene-
mind works, we don't know how that works tactically, but apparently with deadly precision, they can
I think
hit
they even
something.
they could take shots from real far away too. They've got laser guided, or they're flying up there and they could pick you off. What is it? They could shoot fly's wings off, no problem.
Yeah. We've also seen in a couple of the mission files, just in passing, where the swarm have drones that they deploy, either for surveillance, spying, and or tactical advantage. We know the Wasp Raiders are out there somewhere that are also there for counterintelligence. So once they come into a territory, they pretty much control the air, they control information, and they control movement. So
I would say this initial kind of action scene of the swarm, it reminded me of several things. The scene where the Terminator just goes through that police station, and he's just taking everyone out. What that would look like too. The scene from RoboCop where he locks on everyone and then he's shooting without even looking at them in that warehouse scene. And
it's
then
impressive.
from the perspective of this guy, these guys.
Here's an official of some sort that's being held hostage by some sort of a merc, and the swarm. He doesn't negotiate, or he negotiates like they did in what was that? The Fifth Element, when he goes in to negotiate. Yeah, he negotiates. Bang, done.
Yep.
Anybody else want to negotiate?
He lines that shot right up without hesitation. And I think he even says it's like, he had ice water running through his veins and he just took the shot and left. I don't even think he said anything. He just took the shot and they just packed it all up and went on with their day.
So if these guys have emotions, they hide them very well. All business. So that is about what we have for the swarm.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of their stuff is shrouded in mystery. And when we start delving into Bill Nidro's novel, they do make an appearance. We're not ready to go into that yet. I want to make sure everybody's had a chance to read the novels, but they are impressive. I mean, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah, as the story evolves, we could see different variants. There's a lot of different specialties that we haven't seen, them deployed as. So I really like to see it. I mean, wouldn't you love to see a swarm deployment vehicle? I'm speculating, but wouldn't that be just like an APC, just packed to the gills with swarm?
Maybe for the Scarab. I'd love to see some sort of a drop ship for the swarm troopers, to fly out of. Kind of like a floating beehive, just all the swarm flying out of it. That would be intense. But who knows?
I'd say the swarm is one of the most popular, factions in the Action Force line, and it's because they just look damn cool. So even if we didn't have all this lore with them, just imagine how many people just picked up the figure just because it looks cool. Because and then you read and you find that it's deeper than that, and I just love their the whole lore of them, their hive mind, everything about it. Once again, harkens back to those things that we love, but it's new and original for today. So.
Right, and again, it goes back to picking iconic designs and color choices. The black and yellow with the silver, it's just badass.
Mm-hmm.
I love the wings. The translucent wings also carry over into the translucent compound eyes in the helmet.
And the shield and even the base, right? Isn't that figure base made out of that same material?
Yeah, when you use the flight pack comes with a translucent base to go to take your standard ground trooper and make him a little bit more elite. So nice value add. I like the designs.
They're great.
Again, aesthetically, as a figure, they're just awesome. They look great, and because they are a swarm, when you have multiple and you put them on a shelf, they look badass.
They certainly do.
I really like the detail on the newer Sentry. He also comes with a gold base that matches his armor, and again, black and gold works. And
it just
they
pops,
do look
man.
menacing. So I've been happy with all the variants. I'm definitely liking the way they look on the shelf. And again, the more we read in the story, it's like, I really want to know more. But I understand why there's not a lot of information about them yet.
Yeah.
But I think that is forthcoming.
I think so too.
So, well, you've heard what we think about it. Now we want to know what you guys think about it. So we're going to go back over to the live guys in the studio and see what they're up to.
Yeah, those slackers. We're doing all the work, and they're just sitting there typing away. All right.
They're playing with their swarm figures. That's probably what they're doing.
Well, that was awesome. It was a great conversation, man. Thanks, and I'll see you on the other side.
All right, Will. See ya. Hey, everybody. We're back. Sort of. My signal's really low today. How you doing, Will?
Good. Hey, you were looking perfect until the video ended. So that's just that perfect timing for the. Now you look like an AI generated Largo.
That's it. Let's run the swarm recap and hope my internet catches up. So definitely the most interesting of the factions that we are dealing with in Valaverse. Very popular and a little bit more next level than some of the modern troops that we have. They're definitely more futuristic than anybody else at this point.
You need the benevolent protection of the swarm. Sign
That's
up
right.
now. Limited time offer. I love it. Yeah, they're great and they're shrouded in mystery. So, the more we get, I'm looking forward to it. Do have an interesting comment real quick from Scott C. Thanks for watching. He says he wish he could get the Wasp Raider. He was a little late to the Vala game. Now, that one those colors, those specific colors, are being retired. That's right, Jim.
That's correct. That was a special for the BotCon convention, and Bobby said he's probably not going to make that one again. But the character of the Wasp Raider is in the lore, so we might see a different variant down the road. So just keep your eyes out for that.
Mm-hmm.
And with Valicon coming up, who knows what will be announced? We don't know all the goodies yet. We got a little teaser with the Vala Fair, but he saved some other things for the convention.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to point out, it's kind of swarm related, but not. It's a third-party toy that I picked up that I use as kind of like my swarm drone. It is a robotic, like a wasp type critter. It's made by a company called Beast Box, and I found them on Hobby Link Japan, but they're also available on Big Bad Toy Store, maybe a few other places. And it looks like it would be a transformer, and it kind of sort of is in the fact that it will transform into a cube. So you can put it into a storage cube that it comes with, or you can fold it out. So it's like that kind of works for the swarm.
Yeah, I can see
them
them
using these for surveillance or what have you.
Popping it out of a crate and sending it out. Yeah, that
exactly.
That's pretty well.
Yeah, they're fairly well articulated. They've got great colors, and they just look great on the shelf with the swarm. So if you're looking for some sort of third-party goodies to add to your collection, that's one I'd recommend.
Yep. Bjorn asking, he's saying that about the mysteriousness or the mystery of the swarm. He says he wants to know more about them, but at the same time, he wants them to remain mysterious. And Badger following up with, sometimes the mystery is more interesting than the truth. Sure.
That's true. I mean, we kind of all learned that lesson with Boba Fett. He was much more interesting in Empire than when they showed too much later on.
Yeah, or even the origin of was it Wolverine, which was mysterious for a long time. Then we finally got it, and I mean, to some it was the best thing they ever learned, but to some, it's just wasn't as wonderful as what we were wondering, So, and then Ted, thanks for stopping by, Ted. He's at work. He's going to catch the replay.
Cool. So, yeah, I think we covered it pretty well. We decided to go ahead and incorporate all the swarm just because it just felt like that was probably the better way to go. And
yeah, definitely.
When we get to Karak, I think we'll include the garrison with him as well, just because they go hand in hand. So, speaking of future episodes, I'm excited that I got a chance to sit down with our buddy Zazel from Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse, and he was kind enough to help us for our Sergeant Slaughter episode. So when that one comes up, I think that one is May 1st that we have that scheduled. Zazel will be our guest host for that. So looking forward to that one. And speaking of those sort of things, we don't have anything else coming up in the chat at the moment. Maybe we'll play a little Name That Merc. We kind of teased that last week.
That's right.
Okay, so last week we mentioned that it would be a medic type character, and some of you have already put in a couple of comments in the comments from last week, and some name suggestions, which I appreciate. I've got a swarm buddy. I got a fly in here. It's bugging me. I think he's a swarm spy. But where did he go? Well, while I'm trying to find,
Yep.
I think I still have him
How
over
you
here.
doing, Mr. Wonderful? Just saying hi
Hey,
to Mr. Wonderful while you were looking there.
all right.
And
Well, while I'm looking for the figure, because I think I put him somewhere to do some toy photography, I'll run the video that I have for him.
all right.
This is our next contender for the spare parts mercenaries.
All
So there you
right.
go, folks. That is the corpsman. And for any of you old Navy guys out there, you know exactly who a corpsman is. And for some of you former Marines, I'm sure you're very familiar with the corpsman. Corpsmen are, to the Navy and the Marines, in a similar capacity, what medics are for the Army. In the field, when the Marines are deployed, they will take a Navy corpsman with them, and that is their medic, their doc. So my father was a Navy corpsman, and so I thought, cute little homage. He doesn't have that kind of sporting that kind of civilian hair, but I had the declassified pack that I'd picked up, and I didn't opt to do a gung ho remake with it. But I like the colors, and I'm thinking, it kind of reminds me of something like an EMT would wear. So maybe if a guy was a former corpsman, went EMT, and then got pulled into this whole mess of what's going on in the Valaverse, maybe he'd look a little something like this. So he's let his hair grow out. He's getting a little shaggy, but definitely a member needed for the Mercs and for Valaverse. I'm hoping we see a medic sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Great suggestions there,
ideas.
Bjorn. But if you guys could just put those in the comments of the video after the live stream, it'll really help us so we could put them up and you guys could vote on them. Speaking of voting, Jim put a poll up on what your favorite swarm trooper is. And if you guys could go ahead and just vote if you haven't, we could close that out and see those poll results in just a few minutes.
Yep. So a lot of stuff coming up. We're, as articulated Chad has called it, we're on the road to JoeFest/Valicon. A lot of hype. We've seen a lot of neat teases of what's coming out. Rolando, nice to see you. Nothing has been released yet on Valaverse.com, but it's coming. No. So he said spring, and spring has sprung. So sometime in the very near future, it's coming.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Yep. And speaking of broken alliances, there's a wonderful person. I think he watches the channel. I'm not sure if he's watching now, but Mr. ML Series on YouTube. You go check out his channel. But he released yesterday a really, really nice video about the Broken Alliance novel, and he does it in a really great style. That it's a non-spoilerish review, but the way he does it with his visual and audio presentation is just really unique, something I really haven't seen before, and something I really enjoyed. So I want you guys to go check that out if you're interested. For the parts that you have or you are familiar with, because I'm not fully through the book yet, but I found them familiar. But for the parts that are not, it really would kind of intrigue you and entice you into going and reading that book yourself. So yeah, definitely. I think Jim put a link to ML Series video in the description.
I did.
and
In
a
the
link to
description.
the book. So yeah,
I
you
did.
guys go check that out.
Yeah, definitely excellent stuff there. ML Series was also at Valicon with you, what, last year? Did
Um,
you guys
the
get
year
a chance to
before, I
year
met him
before?
at Joe Fest 2021, and
Cool.
yeah, just real nice guy, and just chatted a couple times since then. But yeah, he has a really nice channel, and he's a really big fan of Alaverse, just like me. And he's one of the other few people out there talking about not only the figures or the toys, but the lore or the story behind it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. It's always good to see other people exploring the lore. And, maybe we'll see if we can get him on the show sometime because he's definitely got a wealth of knowledge about action figures, 3D printing, military paraphernalia. So that'd be cool. We'll reach out to him. Um, I don't think we have much else going on today.
No.
You guys have anything in the chat that you want to ask about Swarm that you don't already know or you're afraid to ask or time? Yeah, they do make an appearance in the novel, like we mentioned, and so you do get to see a little bit more of them than you did in the mission files, and that's always cool. And they're definitely going to be very interesting to see in the live action film. I'm curious how they're going to look portrayed live action with those jetpacks or jacks, as we know they're called now.
Yeah, and if there's any new variants or MOSs introduced into the line, we could always cover them in a future episode. So I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and we've seen the Swarm have gotten a lot of love. Steel Brigade, Action Force, everybody's filling out their ranks except Garrison Cavalry. That's one I am guessing we'll see something revealed soon because they're
Mhm.
the last faction that hasn't had a whole lot of love yet. So we
And
have.
just I'm sorry, just quickly looking at the poll, it's really close. We have 17 votes in, and there's a couple ties and one clear winner. But we'll give it a couple more minutes. But you guys could go in there and vote. But it seems like people like the swarm, all the swarm variants, pretty much equally. There's no clear, one clear winner.
They're all good. Well, while you guys are finishing up the votes on that, you want to take a tease for what's coming down the road here? Take a few more things from the
Mhm.
chat. Yeah, so there are a
And
lot of folks who are reading the novel right now, including us, and it's good stuff, and definitely fills out a lot of things that we were teased about in the mission files, but didn't really get a lot of in-depth information. Excuse me. So, Swarm has definitely been a fun one, and next time we're going to be delving into the next faction, and I'll show a little teaser here.
Mhm. All right.
I got to
You were
admit,
you were shredding. You were shredding on the guitar there.
I had some
Good job.
serious air guitar there. As much as I love the Swarm and I love the designs, I love the characters. I got to say, I prefer the Garrison to me because they're not faceless. Because we have some very interesting characters related with them in Karak, the Bone Collector, the Brothers of Bones, the Garrison Cavalry. I'm just I'm very interested to delve into that lore more as
Yeah,
it's expanding.
it's going to be an
So,
interesting conversation.
oh yeah, so that'll be our next show coming up, and after that we'll do the Sarge, and that'll put us right on the doorstep of Valicon at that
That's
point, I
right.
think.
Yeah.
So Will and our buddy Bjorn will be going, and hopefully we'll get some cool swag while they're there, and maybe some footage that we can show after. So we'll play it by ear and see what happens, because who knows?
Hmm.
Those conventions can get a little rowdy. So
We'll see. We'll try. We'll try and be good.
well, you never know. Yeah, let's go ahead and close out the poll. I think
Okay.
we have a pretty clear winner at this point. Looks like Wasp Raider is the one that people are most enamored with, but it's close. They're all good. There's really no wrong answer there. So definitely appreciate everybody voting on that. Give us your thoughts. And James Salzberg is curious if he can get a hold of a loose desert rat. So we'll jump out in the community and see if somebody can hook him up. I think those are still pretty readily available, even through Valaverse, at least the standard one.
I think he's talking about the Stand Solo
Oh,
creation
that's
loose one,
right.
and I don't know what the limit on those is going to be. By all
Right.
means, I'm already picking one up. I want hopefully I want one carded and one loose for myself. And Jim here has also tasked me with getting him one carded, one loose. Bjorn is going to be with me, so unless he has obligated to pick one up, I'm hoping we could get two of each for each person. That would cover everything. So, but we'll have to see. I'm wondering if I
Yeah.
could get like a hall pass, like Jim could write a note saying, "Dear Bobby Bella, I'm trapped in Guatemala. I can't be there. Can we, and uh, maybe he'll take pity on us because
Yeah.
I'm
We'll
sure there's
definitely
a lot of
scratch.
people with I'm buying it for a
Yeah,
kid or
for a
something, but
friend.
they're gonna throw it up on eBay or something like that. So
It's for my
um,
dying aunt in
yeah,
Albuquerque.
yeah, I'm
Get
sure
out of
there's a
here,
lot of
kid.
that.
So, but we'll see what we can do.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll definitely look forward to that. And there's a lot of other good stuff. I mean, we're obviously partial to Valaverse, but there's Marauder. There's a lot of vintage Joe stuff that shows up there as well.
Tons.
A lot of
There's
other
also
cool
that
vendors.
sweet Eclipse exclusive that we already know about, and that's now just two
Yep,
exclusives we know about. There may be more. So, and then there's also the whole action points thing. So we don't
that's right.
know. It's
The
going to
mystery
be.
mystery figure of the action points. That one's going to be very interesting to find what that reveal is going to be. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
Mhm.
Well, I think we're about at the hour mark, and we'll probably sign off for today. But appreciate you guys showing up and
Yeah.
helping us explore the lore of the swarm. And later on, we'll wrap up everything in Series 1 and then truck right into Series 2 and beyond. And of course, Bill Nedro's excellent novel. And again, check out the link below and look at ML Series video on the novel. I highly recommend that. It's very cool, very slick production. So, with that, anything else, Will?
Nope. Just thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for watching, and have a great night, guys.
Yep. See you guys in the near future.